I had built a fleet after I sold my company. I bought a Westport and the Damon, and then I had this CV, which is basically what we were fishing off of, and had that crazy Captain 4. And I said, you know what? I want a boat that can follow the fleet. And so this 52 came out. It was what we call an express. And a little later on, we put a little tower on it. But
52.
even though I'd never go back to that boat, we had a blast on that thing. And
we had
his
a
first
great
trip
time.
before we hired you
Yeah.
is taking it from Stewart, eventually all the way to
Maine.
Maine. What's the town?
Bath? Is that,
No,
Bar Harbor.
Bar Harbor,
Bahama.
Maine. Yeah, and
Bahama.
and it was so weird that we had to use the heater. If you remember that,
Yeah,
we're
a few
like, does
times.
that heater work?
Yeah.
We're gonna have to turn that on.
Yeah, a few
and
times.
me and him, a lot of times it was just you and me.
Yeah.
Sat in that boat waiting for a bluefin tuna hit for a month.
Yeah.
A month. We saw a couple schools.
We got a couple close
and
calls, and
we finally were talking to this local, and the guy, we're telling him we're doing everything right, and he goes, "Hey, by the way, are you shutting your generator off?"
Yeah.
You and I looked at each other like, "Oh, shit."
yeah, and he
Turn
was
the
telling us,
generator
that
off.
noise they know, they get real finicky, and we're like, oh, great.
And
But
because the day we left was the day that the commercial
Opening season for
opened,
commercial, yeah.
and we went out and followed these guys around, and they're pulling fish over the gun. All over. We've been doing this for a month, man.
Yeah,
But then we took that boat, and that's how we met this guy over here, all the way from Maine, all the way to Grenada.
yeah,
And there's a real funny story. I'll probably let him tell you how we met.
Yeah.
And it's coming up on 3 and 4 years.
4 years,
4
yeah.
years, yeah.
Yeah. So go ahead and tell that.
So yeah, Ian had gave me a call. I was working for my brother. He has his own outboard shop in Stewart. And Ian calls me. He's like, "Hey man, would you like to possibly mate for me in the Caribbean?" And I was like, "Oh my God, yeah! You kidding me? Dude, that'd be awesome." He's like, "All right, let me make some calls and I'll let you know." And a couple days later calls me back and he's like, "Yeah, dude, you can come." So I'm like, "All right, so I gotta go get a passport."
Well, what drew? Wait, what? What drew you away from the glamour of fixing small outboards?
Oh God! Mainly working for my brother,
Yeah,
that
but-
sometimes can be a complete
but-
nutcase.
But please tell them the first part of this story. Go.
So Ian, is hyping this thing up. It's gonna, and a lot of it was true. You're gonna see the biggest fish. You're gonna lose the biggest fish you've ever seen, and it's gonna be great. It's gonna be, a good experience for you. And he's got me all stoked. I'm all psyched. And the boat, the 52 Express, a beautiful boat. It was like, oh my God, this thing's gorgeous. This is the biggest boat I've ever been on. This thing is it. And so we leave out of Fort Lauderdale for St. Thomas. I'm super hyped. I'm super stoked. We're traveling with the fleet, so we're going like what, 17, 18
15,
knots,
17
because we had to
knots,
hang with the bigger boats. And it was nice. First day, I'm up in the tower. I'm driving with my feet. I'm behind Gigi and Axis, and I'm like, this is it. This is it. This is it. And about like 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock that night, it got to like 6 up to 8 feet on the nose. Windshield wipers stopped working. You can't even see. We're going off the radar. All you can see is Axis lights on the staircase, and you're sitting there, and it's going crazy. And I just completely fell apart. Like,
No, what happened to the autopilot?
the
We lost the
autopilot
autopilot that night, yeah.
Well, yeah, the autopilot, was shot, so we had to steer the whole way.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the guy that was trying to fix the autopilot was like, "Yeah, man, we did the Caribbean in a 64, and dude, you think a 64 is a big boat? It ain't shit out there." And I'm sitting there, I'm like, "We got a 52 with no autopilot."
I mean,
But that ride was awful. Like second, third day in, I was like, "No, dude, when I get to St. Thomas, I'm out of here."
Yeah, and we did.
I'm like thinking of ways. How can I get out? How can I? You're in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah.
You're
It was
breathing.
4 days at about 15 knots, and after that first day, it was at least 6 foot every day.
Just thrown right into the fire, and I was like, "What have I got myself into?" This is.
Yeah.
Ian said nothing about this. Like mentioned not one part.
The next time he came up, I was cooking fajitas.
Yeah, to come get a fresh breath of air, and Ian's like, "You hungry?" And he's got one of the cookers, and it's like going from side to side.
well, yeah.
But
I mean,
anyways.
I think when I heard that you guys had all made it, I was like, "Oh, thank God!" And I asked I think it was Captain Smith.
Yeah,
At the
yep.
time, I said, "How is everybody?" And he goes, "Well, I think there's had some issues on the frigate. We may lose a guy." I was like, "Okay, well, that's all right. Just as long as
Boat's there. We're
you
good.
got, you
Yeah.
got us down there." But then, I mean, you championed it, man. We
Yeah.
took off south from there and did some amazing fishing. I mean,
It was incredible.
We ended up catching. You put us on a Marlin, we'll catch it. And our big day was we had left out of
Off Mystique there.
off Steve, and we were headed for
Is it St. Lucia or
No, further south to.
St.
We left
Vincent?
St. Vincent to go to
that's
Mystique.
right. We were at
Yeah,
St.
there we go.
Vincent, and we were going to fish that fad,
Yeah,
which we'd been out the day before and caught a Marlin
yeah,
with Craze White. This
Yeah.
time we were with Larry.
yeah. We went 1 for 3 the day before, and the 2 we missed
The
were big
chairman.
Yeah.
fish. Yeah,
The
so
chairman.
we were like, we got to get back out there.
And so, we take off out of St. Vincent. You remember it was not real nice all 3 of those days.
No, not at
Real
all.
on the
God,
nose.
and the 52, although a great boat, is not good in a head. I mean, if you
Oh yeah, there's
if you're straight on, it's this.
there's pictures like rigging mullets on the way to the fad, like putting them on the dredges, and it's just complete waves coming over
Yeah.
the top of it. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
just taking it.
And so we get out there, and we had caught a little tuna,
Yeah.
little blackfin tuna, and we decided to bridle him up. And we had Larry with us, and we had
Gabe.
Gabe, and he's this ex-Marine, so we decided to put him in the chair. And I'm up top because I'd been driving all day, and I just happened to be looking back, and I see the biggest fish I've ever seen in my life just take a whack at the tuna. I looked right down his stomach. I mean, I could see his mouth open. I was like, whoa, and you freak out when that happens. And he turned and wailed on the Blue Island.
Yeah,
I
the
think.
Islander, yeah.
And I
Yep.
yelled down to you. I said, "Ian, that's the biggest fish I ever seen." And he just starts coming out of the water, and we're all just in a daze. We get, when you get a Marlin, you get all the other lines in. And Gabe's a strong, tough guy. He had this fish to the transom, which to this day, I think it's 800 plus in 2.5 hours.
I mean, getting into the chair.
And-
On a 50,
And
on a
we were
50 wad.
we were thinking about killing it. And Ian's down there, and he's got the leader at one point, and that fish is going underneath, and I could see it going back. It's wired in the boat, and I'm just going, no, we're not putting that in here. And there's a panga boat not
Yeah.
far off there.
Yeah.
He wanted us to kill it.
Yeah, the local guy, yeah. A single
There's
guy.
a
We're
picture.
at 25 miles
There's a
and he's
picture
following us around
with
out
that
there.
Marlin completely out of the water, right next to the panga.
Yeah.
And it's like as big, if not a little bigger than the panga.
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
if you could pull that up. There's a picture
Yeah.
of that.
It's somewhere. We
Yeah.
could definitely
Yeah,
find it.
it's-
Yeah, we got that. We'll
you
pull
look
it
at
up.
this,
Yeah.
You look at this boat and this fish, and you're like, oh my god.
Yeah.
And then we've showed that to a few.
There's some good video too of it jumping
There
past
is,
the boat.
yeah.
Some real professionals. Skip Smith, the minute he looked at it, he said that's over 700 pounds.
Yeah.
So